And we're back out here on the Cheap Seats, 96.3 WLCN, out at Lincoln Community High School today. Our show sponsored by Rick Ham State Farm Insurance, Cameron Kurtz, Josh Komnick, and Coach Neil Alexander in with us this morning. And, Coach, we take a look at some of the matchups that Lincoln will be facing today. Of course, got that Cahokia game at 11:30. Kind of break that down a little bit. Cahokia is a team that's pretty solid, had their ups and downs a little bit throughout the tournament, but nonetheless a very solid and very well-respected team.
Well, they got excellent young players, and we've got our work cut out. What worries me and scares me is that we played such a late game last night, turning around and coming back this morning, and we played with a lot of emotion last night. So getting our guys ready to play this morning is going to be a chore, but we better be prepared because Cahokia is very athletic. They're very big. I know they've a 6'8", 320-pounder sitting around in there, and we're going to have to play some defense. They're good shooters. They penetrate. They're quick. They defend. So it's going to be a tough game for us.
Yeah, they play almost that out-of-control defense where you just don't know where they're going to be at any point in time. They're scrounging, they're slapping, they're anticipating. If we handle the ball, Coach, I got to think that we can beat them for a lot of layups because they do gamble so much. But you talked about it, 5 freshmen on the roster, and a lot of them play.
Yeah, and the sophomore is their best player in Minor, and he's very dangerous because he's a Jordan-type shooter. Mm-hmm. He's got range, and he's very quick. He's strong, but they've got some other guys that can do the damage too. And we really. Basically another championship game. You mess around, you lose this one, they go to 3-1 and tied with you, and then the tiebreaker is head-to-head would be with them. If it's 2 teams tied, would be their victory. So it's another championship game this morning.
Yeah, Morton defeated Cahokia at 6 o'clock here Monday night, 67-49, and then Cahokia went to Althoff on Wednesday night and knocked off the Crusaders 69-63 on the Crusaders Althoff's home court. And of course they had that overtime win that took us a little later into the night last night. Cahokia 71, Danville 67 in overtime. So like Coach said, another tough game, a group of athletes that you're going to have to contend with, and especially coming off a late game, an emotional game last night, and an early game today, 11:30. But your guys are used to it. You've had them here at 6 in the morning for double sessions.
Well, I hope that pays off. Wake them up.
Yeah, I should have came over for double sessions. I'm dragging a little bit today.
Well, you should have been prepared.
Yeah, come on, Josh. You need to pick up on that and start to slack.
And then, of course, Danville is the opponent tonight, Coach, and Danville is a team that we talked about is dangerous. They have a couple of excellent players, and then the successful football season they had. Those guys are finally getting back into the swing of taking the shoulder pads off and putting on the sneakers and lacing them up.
Well, they finished football a week ago, and some of them haven't even been in practice yet, so I don't know whether they're playing today or not, but I think Danville's gradually going to get better, and they're going to be a 4A school this year. So I look for them to be somebody in that, south of I-80 to really deal with that a little bit. And, I think there's no doubt that O'Fallon is the powerhouse in 4A south of I-80. And even though Peoria Notre Dame beat them earlier in the week. So, you never know. That's why you play the games. And, today's one of those games that is very scary for a coaching staff.
That's right. You talk about some of those games, and also the 10 o'clock game that we've got here this morning, Morton and Champaign Centennial. Of course, Cahokia and Lincoln at 11:30. 1 o'clock, Danville and Althoff. That should be a pretty good game. And then take a little bit of break for this afternoon. 5:30, we come back. It's Centennial and Cahokia. Althoff and Morton tip off at 7 o'clock. And then Lincoln with the late game again tonight against Danville. And, Coach, just taking a look at this schedule, it's been pretty stacked the entire week through. It doesn't really seem that the schedule is laid out where a very powerful team plays a weaker team. It doesn't seem that. The schedule is very evenly matched, and it's very well spread out.
Well, it is, and that's what we like about the tournament. You want to know after this week's over on where your strengths and weaknesses are, so there's no doubt that we're going to know what we're going to have to work on. And I know already one of the things is, our first group is on the floor, they run pretty smooth. But once we substitute and try to get a big lineup on the floor, you know, we're out of 8 cylinders, we're running on 6 because we're kind of stuttering at times, and our system is solely on timing and cuts. And when a kid hesitates on what they're doing, it just kind of throws things out of whack a little bit. So we've got to spend some time at trying to get, you know, when we substitute, that group running as smoothly as the first group.
Coach, real quick before we let you go, talk about your substitutions. I think the substitution has went real well so far this year. The guys that you've plugged in have done their job maybe more than I thought they were going to, especially early on in the season. But it seems to me that you have a couple guys that come off the bench in Olson and especially Van Hook and Gessner starts, but they can play a number of positions. You know, you can move Van Hook to a 4 or 5. He can also play the point on the press. Jordan Gessner can play the wing, or he can play the point, and we saw Jordan Nelson play the point on offense all year last year. So got to be a great advantage for you to be able to plug in foul trouble, somebody get tired. A number of guys can play different positions out there.
But that's what I was, just said about when we do that and you start rotating people in and moving positions, that's when we sputter a little bit. So we're going to have to try to get things to run smoothly once we substitute, and that's going to make us much better when we can, we don't take slow down a little bit. We want to keep the pressure on, and, it's important when you substitute, you always try to like to have when your substitute comes in that they give you a lift and you can go. And, Christian's done that. I think Jake Olson's has given us some very good minutes. And, we've got some younger kids that's not playing in the tournament because of the IHSA rules on how many tournaments a kid can participate in. And, last night some of them could have got in, but for 3 or 4 minutes you take away a tournament because all you got to do is play 1 second and it counts as a tournament. So, we want them to play in a tournament where they're going to play the full amount of minutes that they could possibly get to help improve their game. So, basically we're playing with 9 kids today, this tournament, and then once we get through the tournament, then, those other sophomores, if we can work them in and they're going to give us some help, then we'll be in good shape.
Yep. You talk about that bench performance has been very solid for Lincoln all week, and I'm sure that bench performance is going to be solid for your team throughout the tournament and throughout the rest of the season. Coach, we want to wish you the best of luck. We know you've got shoot-around to go to, and then, of course, that game at 11:30 today. Best of luck to you. Coach Neil Alexander has been joining us this morning, and Coach will be joining us every Saturday morning on the Cheap Seats program, and we will break down Raylor basketball for the rest of the season. But at this time, we got to step aside, take another commercial break, recognize our sponsors. We'll be right back. Josh, we're going to go ahead and open up our phone lines now, 648-5510, and we've got that trivia question to ask for a stay at the Hampton Inn once again. Here is today's question, basketball-related question, and why not? We've been talking Lincoln basketball all week, so we've got a Lincoln basketball-related question. So all you diehards out there and basketball enthusiasts, here it is. It has to do with last night's game. Lincoln's Jordan Nelson, 37 points, and he ties the three-point record for a single game. 9 3-pointers in a single game is the record. He ties the record. Who also shares that tie with him with 9 3-pointers?
There's 2. We need both of them. We need both of them.
Yes.
Just not one.
There are 2 players other than Jordan Nelson who hold the record. It's a 3-way tie for him for 9 3-pointers in a single game. Looking for the 2 others, and that's one you have to go back a little bit.
Hey,
one
it's not that old.
Well, one you got to go back a little
bit. That's my sophomore year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we won't get into that. But 648-5510, the number to call in for that if you haven't won in the last 30 days, and you will pick up a stay at the Lincoln Hampton Inn. But Josh, let's go.
Whoa, Lord. That must have been too easy.
Yeah.
We had a too easy of a question already.
I tell you what, that's probably the quickest I've heard that sounder coming off of a trivia question. What do you have, 15, 20 seconds?
Yeah, they're on the ball.
Caller, go ahead. You're in the cheap seats.
Hi, Brock Warner and Jason Osborne.
That was pretty easy.
We got that one.
Yep, did get that one. Jason Osborne and Brock Warner share the record with Jordan Nelson, a 3-way tie for 9 3-pointers in a single game.
Jason Osborne did it February 28th in 1996, and Brock Warner tied that on November 30th of 2002. So 3 guys now, and caller, you got it. What is your name, caller?
It's Pat Tibbs.
Pat Tibbs. Pat, you coming? You going to be at the game tonight, Pat?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hang on to this for you, and you've got a Hampton in-stay. Look me up at the game, or I'll come over and hand this to you or give it to the scores bench.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Pat.
Alrighty, Pat Tibbs, our winner for the trivia question, and I know that was a fairly easy question. Of course, if you were reading the Courier this morning, you would have figured
if you
that
woke
out.
up early and got to the Courier, you could find that. But, we want some more callers. Call in, Railer Nation. Talk about the first 3 games. What has impressed you? What are some things you think we need to work on? The games today, previewing a full day of Saturday basketball for the Railers. Give us a call, 648-5510. We want to discuss the Railers. Cameron's been around on Thanksgiving break all tournament, so we both have a little insight, although it may not be expertise, as we thought it would be a close game last night, and of course it did not result in that. But we'll give you for what we can.
Yeah, I mean, take it for what it's worth. High school football action is wrapping up this week in the state finals over at Memorial Stadium in Champaign. Rochester, they did it. They are the 4A state champions, picking up the 4A state title last night, and they did it pretty easily. So the Central State 8 has one state champion. Can they make it 2?
Right.
Chatham Glenwood to play for the 5A state title game later on today. And Josh, has there ever been a time where the Central State 8 has had two different teams in 2 different classes for the state title?
No, I don't think so, and I may be wrong, but most of the time when you have a Sacred Heart, who's most of the time in it, that you have to run through one of those Springfield teams. So we're always beating up on each other. Not to say that we couldn't, but most of the time they've been in the same class, and Sacred Heart is usually that foe. But now Sacred Heart's coach, his son, is leading the way for the Rochester Rockets. And you think about this, and what a season for them. Not only the scare, or maybe not the scare, but the anticipation of a new team coming in the Central State 8. You're playing for the coach against his dad, who is the the powerhouse in Central State 8 football, not only the state, but you're coming into a new league. You're coming off I believe, runner-up from last year, or maybe they got beat the game before. And just what a season for the Rochester Rockets. They won 24-7 over Alleman. They finished 14-0, state champs. They're undefeated in the Central State 8, of course. Glazebrook, 208 rushing yards yesterday, 89 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 41 total touchdowns for this kid. First year in the Central State 8, and he breaks the record for touchdowns in a season. 41 touchdowns. Wes Lunt, who is the signal caller, the quarterback, a junior, 6'5", 220. I'm sure all the Big Ten and a number of other schools are all after this kid. 3,136 yards passing this year. What a season for Rochester. We give them the props for everything there. They handled themselves well, and we'll be heading over to Rochester here in a couple weeks.
That's right.
For a look at their new gymnasium and the Railers take on them. But like you talked about, also Glenwood's 10-3 taking on Lombard Montini today at 10 a.m. That's getting ready to kick here. They're out on the field getting loose out on a little chilly morning. But 11-2 Lombard Martini going for the 5A state title game. You don't see a lot of teams in the state title with 3 losses, and 2 of those losses were the first 2 games of the year.
Yeah, you don't see that. Really, kind of at a loss of words here for what Central State 8 has brought to football this year. And excellent hats go off to Rochester, and best of luck to Chatham Glenwood. Well, Josh, we've got a job to do here today.
Watch some basketball.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. This is Cameron Kurtz signing off, and until next week, we'll see you down the road.